Tools for the void number 5, core values. You don't choose your core values, but you do need them. Hi, I'm Britt Hartley. I'm an atheist spiritual director who focuses on existential crisis, nihilism, and tools for the void. The void is simply a place where you lose all social and psychological anchors and face the meaninglessness and absurdities of life. But it's also a place where we find great freedom to create authentic lives worth living. So today's video is on core values. And so we don't actually choose our core values. I don't think we have free will at all, but we will do that entire topic another day. We actually discover our core values. So, for example, justice and mercy are both values that we need in society. But you never sat down, especially as a child, and thought, which one do I consciously choose is going to be my moral value or my core value more than the other. But the world doesn't wait for you to decide. It forces us to decide between conflicting values every day from the time that we're small children. And so our genetics and our childhood and our teen experiences are all about us discovering what values are most important to us by trial and error. So we essentially walk into the world and make choices and learn and develop personalities. And over time, we begin to operate under a hierarchy of values because of all the decisions that we have to make. And every single person is operating under a hierarchy of values. We just don't know what it is until we actually take it out and look at it. So the fact that we don't choose our core values, we discover them, they choose us, is fantastic news if you are in nihilism, because one of the aspects of the void, the abyss, existential crisis is that it's really difficult to make decisions in this place. Too much order is suffocating, but too much chaos is paralyzing because there's no reason to choose one thing over any other, because there's no reason for any of this. Everything is absurd. So, having core values that you don't have to choose, because it would be really overwhelming to look at a list of 250 core values and just pick one at random to live your life by. How could you even do that? Human brains don't even like that many choices. If you went to a grocery store and I said you need to pick one salad dressing that you have to eat for the rest of your life and you just get to pick one based on no information, that sucks. We don't like that choice. We would get analysis paralysis. So it's far better for us when we're in chaos that some core values already make more sense to us, resonate with us. There's already a pyramid of values that you operate under that you just discover, that you don't have to choose and put together. So, Jean-Paul Sartre, we're going to be talking about him a lot in existentialism. He argued that humans are condemned to be free, meaning we are burdened with the responsibility of choice in a meaningless universe. And while this can feel paralyzing, Sartre also believed that by discovering values like authenticity and personal responsibility, we can create meaning. And so the value of authenticity, acting in accordance with your true self and your hierarchy of values, can help guide you through the chaos, helping you to act decisively in an absurd world. And so why does that help us? It helps us because it becomes a compass that can help navigate a path through the void. And down the void becomes the place that helps us find our bravery in constructing a unique life that is worth living just for the experience of it. And for a life like that, it has to be really unique to you. It can't be given to you. It can't be just living for the expectations of society or your parents. That's not going to be the kind of life that survives the harshness of the void. So when Nietzsche proclaimed God is dead, he wasn't just announcing the loss of traditional religious meaning. He was calling for individuals to confront the void and take responsibility for creating a life around their own values. And importantly, these values aren't just plucked from thin air. They arise organically from our life experiences and instincts and interactions with the world. And Nietzsche argued that through struggle and introspection, we can refine our understanding of what truly matters to us and what message and gifts we have for the world. We can get super honest about it because the void strips everything else away. This process, he suggests, leads to a more authentic life, one that reflects our deepest drives and individuality rather than societal expectations or empty norms. For Simone de Beauvoir, it's similar. Her existentialist feminist philosophy addresses how core values guide us in the face of life's absurdities. In her Ethics of Ambiguity, she argues that while the world is inherently meaningless, it is through our choices and our actions that we give it meaning. So, like Nietzsche, she believed that the freedom to define oneself can be daunting, but it can also be liberating. And so she emphasized the importance of responsibility, of recognizing that while we may not choose our values outright, we can take ownership of them once we've discovered them and claim them. Values like freedom or justice or empathy that emerge from your lived experience, and these can become the compass for navigating the gray and messy and unknown. So for me personally, what that looked like is when I lost everything. I lost, God and religion and my marriage and free will and sense of self and connection to anyone and any ism and any belief. I lost what I felt was everything. Some people find that freeing. Some personalities just dance right through that. I found it terrifying and paralyzing. But what it did is it forced me to be really honest. And that's the benefit of the void, because nothing but honesty can survive there. I got honest about what a life worth living looked like for me. And then a path appeared. And this is so important because people say in the void, they'll tell me that it feels like I'm floating in nothingness, or it feels like the floor dropped from underneath me, or I feel existential fear all the time. But now there's a path, because where I was in a Mormon marriage, in theology school, studying a God I didn't believe in anymore, with friends that I had to wear a mask around because nobody could handle any of this that I'm talking about now in my life. At that time, I had children. I didn't know what the hell to do about that because I felt like a total fraud telling them to do their homework when life is meaningless and I don't even know what the world is going to be in 20 years. And I just wasn't in the life that would be worth living at the level of experience, because I was living the life that was given to me by society and my parents, my religion, all these things. And so if life is just a ride, I wasn't on the right ride. And no one is. We just find ourselves on a train and wake up one day and look around and realize I don't even remember getting on this train. Dante calls it, at the very beginning of Dante's comedy, he says, midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the path had been lost. And those are the first lines of Dante's Divine Comedy. And this is where the journey starts for him, and he descends into hell and purgatory and heaven on this journey to discover morality and his own inner nature. And there's lots of lessons that he gleans from that experience, but it starts where he's midway in life and the path has been lost. For Jung, he called it the process of individuation, where you discover and integrate all the aspects of the self, including the unconscious, to become a fully realized individual. And that journey is worth taking to discover everything that is going on underneath the surface of you. There's a whole universe written on your body and mind that you can never get to the end of. But in that process of integrating more and more that you discover about yourself, you can become what humans can become, more aware and more at peace with ourselves. And that's a journey worth taking, even if the universe doesn't notice that we're here. So for me, I got really honest about my core values: conversation, deep honesty about the human experience, truth seeking, authenticity. And then I could see a life out here, an imagined life where I had friends that I didn't have to mask with, and a work where I could sit with people in their darkest moments and we could relate to one another and share tools and stories, and a marriage where I could be more myself and less superficial worries about what is cool right now, so I could spend more time focusing on ideas. And I could imagine a life like that, and that gave me a path to walk. I quit theology school. Even though I was at all but dissertation, I had hard conversations with my husband where I thought my marriage was over and I was facing that. I took risks in social situations, even though I'm hella weird. And I found other weirdos who liked me without a mask. I did mushrooms with people and we talked about life afterwards. I started doing this work as an atheist spiritual director, which is a job title I totally and completely made up. I mean, I have education, I have qualifications, I did theology school. I did a 2-year spiritual direction program, but it's essentially a career title that I had never heard of. And I didn't know if a single person would sign up for spiritual direction and coaching. But because I had that vision of what my life could look like, nothing else is really worth living for. And so I was able to have the bravery to take these big leaps into authenticity. And then my life got better. My depression started to go away. I got better friends. I transitioned into a work that I love, that is still able to pay the bills, because I still have to pay bills like everybody else. I get to be a part of conversations just for the joy of it. And writing, like writing this little message today, because I love to just conceptualize a concept in writing. It's enjoyable for me. I get into this flow state when I do it, and I enjoy it. And so even if this video goes out into the universe and nobody watches it, it was enjoyable for me just in writing it. And so now my life is built around my core values, things that I discovered that this meat suit likes to do. And I take big risks, sometimes pushing up against societal expectations and parental expectations for this life. Now, that doesn't mean I don't do the dishes, or that I don't have to pay bills, or that I don't live in this capitalistic nightmare and the rest of it. I have 4 children. I do chores. I clean toilets. I pay bills. But it's now more so a cost that I'm willing to pay, because overall, I'm glad to be on the ride of life with its ups and its downs. And so I know life is an insane roller coaster ride that we didn't design. We don't know why we're here, and the ride ends. I fully expect that when I die, the ride is over. But the benefit is that going through the void forced out of me this more authentic life that I'm now am glad that I get to live. And Heidegger believed that we couldn't get that kind of authentic life until we fully confront our own mortality. And by living in the awareness of death, what he called being toward death, we are able to clarify, really clarify what matters most to us. Values like existential courage and honesty with yourself, living fully present in the moment. When we embrace these values, we can act authentically rather than being swept up in the distractions of everyday existence, where you're just a hamster on a hamster wheel for no reason. So if this is speaking to you, you're already dying and suffering in the void, you might as well give it a shot. What are some good resources for self-discovery? Because Nietzsche says that most humans won't be able to do this on their own. We need help. I certainly did too. The universe inside of us is often as confusing as the world outside of us. I certainly needed help, and there's no shame in that. So some tools that can be helpful. I really recommend the Enneagram, because I find it to be a helpful tool with no woo. No faith claims that I have to believe in order to use this tool. Whereas something like astrology and human design, ooh, there's a lot of truth claims involved in that are hard to get on board with. And remember, we want the tool without the woo when we're in the void, because you probably got here from being somewhat skeptical. I'm a 4 with a 5 wing, if you know anything about the Enneagram, and that probably would make sense to you. 4s are deep feelers, and 5s tend towards logic and models in their mind. That's where they go for safety, so I have that combination. My partner is a 3. He's a natural goal setter. That's a motivating force. The Enneagram can just help you find your core motivating values and the core values of others, and also the shadow side of those values. The 16 personality types, this is where you get like INFJ, those kind of things. Some people really like that one. Didn't resonate with me as much, but some people really, that resonates with them. You know, the description of their personality type really feels like someone, you know, has a microscope and is looking at them. So some people really get into that personality typing test. There's the Big 5 personality test. This one helps tell how neurotic you are by nature. Spoiler alert, I'm very high in neuroticism. And if you are low in extroversion and you are high in neuroticism, you suffer more in life just by nature. And those are good things to know about yourself. Making flashcards of core values. You can find a list online. I'll leave a link in the comments. They're everywhere. And you can just put, you know, make flashcards of each core value and narrow them down until you have about 2 to 4, usually core values. Inner child work helps. Shadow work helps. These are just aspects of yourself that you can dig into. My Reconstructing Spirituality course has a whole section on core values, and a section on inner child work, and a section on shadow work if you want help with that. But there's also online resources that you can find. Archetype work can help. I do a course also on Jungian archetypes. I also recommend the podcast This Jungian Life for more free content. If you prefer learning about yourself through story and mythology and symbol, like these archetypes that show up in our stories over and over, some people really like that in discovering aspects of their own psyche. Visualization work and guided meditations into what a life worth living looks like for you. Sometimes guided meditations can help the subconscious paint that picture with you when that feels overwhelming. And then you can kind of step back and see kind of what you've painted there. These are all different pathways just to explore the universe within, because when you find what you value and it resonates with you, these resonances are just your subconscious talking to your body saying there's something here. It's just a little buzz in your body. And then you can hopefully find the pathway that appears to the other side of the void, which is what is a life living? What is a life worth living? Totally unique to me. What does that actually look like? And you're going to need your core values for that. And we discover them, which is great news for us because then we don't have to think about it. We just have to look within and start asking some questions through these various paths that I mentioned, whichever one calls out to you more, and see what your core values are and see if that can help you imagine that life that's more worth living based on where you are now and where your life could be. And then that helps to give you something to work on that actually improves the quality of your experience. For more tools on the void, subscribe here at No Nonsense Spirituality and check out the website nononsensespirituality.com for courses, including a course on nihilism, coaching, books, and more resources.